All right, welcome to the LMG podcast, show number 2, Banker to Broker series. Today we are speaking with our commercial banker to broker guests, and I am co-hosting. I'll introduce myself. I'm Leo Orellana, co-founder and co-owner of Legacy Mortgage Group, and I'm joined here by my business partner and co-host, Mr. Sandeep Randhawa, also co-owner and co-founder of Legacy Mortgage Group. We are also joined by our guest, commercial banker and VP, Mr. Aaron Gill, commercial broker and VP, Angela Kordakovsky, commercial broker and VP, Ramit Bhatia. Bhatia, there you go.
You got it.
I got it.
Gotta emphasize the T a little.
I got it. Guys, thank you for joining us and looking to have a great roundtable discussion with you.
For sure.
So I'll kick it off. Aaron, what was your ever first job?
Wow. It was in Tim Hortons in Lethbridge, Alberta.
Tim Hortons?
Tim Hortons.
Didn't you have a Tim Hortons
That
job?
makes two of us. I was just gonna say,
Right.
yeah.
That
Great
was
first job. Money never
first
ran
job.
out when I worked at Tim Hortons.
No.
I don't know. It feels like making $2,000 a month there
That was a lot.
was more than you needed at
Yeah,
that time,
yeah.
right?
never, it was never
Yeah.
ending.
It never ran
It was like,
dry.
it
That's
doesn't
right.
matter what you spend, it was like always there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Angela, your first job.
Mine's not too far off. My first job was at McDonald's at West Edmonton Mall.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
so I did that.
The
for
one in the
about-
big food court?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. How long did you work there for?
I honestly think it was about a month, and then I got a little bit overwhelmed. There was just too much traffic coming into that location.
It was a busy location.
Yeah,
Were you putting salt in the fries or flipping the burgers?
I was the cashier.
Cashier. Oh, wow. White collar McDonald's job.
Taking all the heat, man, from the customers. Ramit, what was your first job ever?
Thank you. My first job was at Subway in south side of the city.
Wow. So everyone in food services industry.
Services.
A bit of a pattern.
Excellent,
Great
excellent, guys. Well, there's a first for everything, right? And now you guys are all commercial brokers, helping out other entrepreneurs secure financing in a variety of ways. So, guys, I kind of want to ask you individually, and I'll start with yourself, actually, Ramit, first. What was it about commercial financing that drew you to the area of work? Or maybe let's take it back a little bit. What was your kind of path to banking, and how did you get to commercial financing? What drew you to that area?
That's an excellent question, Leo. My first job, as I said, I was at Subway, and very soon I realized I'm good in talking to people. So that was the time when I jumped to an actual sales role, and I did that for just over 2 years. When I realized, you know what, talking to people is something that I like, helping people out is something that I like. So that was the time when I made my transition to a bank, where I worked for more than 5 years. And then I moved from first bank to another bank. Both of them were the big 5 banks of Canada before making the jump to Legacy Mortgage Group as a VP commercial.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. You got that down packed. I love
Yes, yes.
that. And Angela, your path, I'd love to hear what your path into banking was, and what drove you to the small business and then eventually commercial side.
Sure. So when I first went into banking, I was actually studying in university. And then I was thinking, okay, it's time to get out of retail. Let's go do something that's going to benefit what I'm studying. I was studying finance at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So then I joined a credit union, started off as a bank teller, then went into the personal banking role, and then just kind of figured that working on the retail side was a little bit of a black and white. And I wanted to kind of, have a variety of deals, kind of get some color into it, think outside of the black and white criteria.
Mm-hmm.
So then I decided to go onto the small business side of it. Worked my way up, worked there for quite a little bit, helped a lot of startup entrepreneurs. And then from there, it just led me to go into more of a relationship manager role. Wanted to essentially explore and have higher limits. So moved on to a different bank I moved over.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, just learned a lot more on the commercial side, saw what the appetite would be, worked there for a bit. And then from there, transitioned to wanting to explore being a commercial broker at Legacy Mortgage Group.
There you go. That's quite the bio. It's like a full CV right here. I love it. And Aaron, your path to
Mine is a little more funnier. I came to Canada in 2009, and everybody I talked to at that time, it was like, let's meet on the weekend. I was like, what's wrong with the weekend? Like, why can't we just meet on a weekday? They're like, that's when you have more time. And I was like, you know what? I just want to find a job where people have time, where I have time on the weekend.
Mhm.
And I started exploring banking because I was like, there was a Monday to Friday jobs, 9 to 5, white collar job. Why not?
Yeah.
And that was literally one of my main reasons to come to banking.
And did you go straight into the commercial arm, or did you start?
I started at retail
Okay.
in a branch in Calgary. And just about 9 months later, I wanted to explore different options. And there was a role called CSO, and I just want to explore that piece. And I talked to my manager, and they said, that'll be a good start in commercial banking. I had no idea how everything worked. I knew commercial because I had commercial clients in retail as a teller, but didn't really know exactly what lending took.
Yeah.
But I got a back end idea of how lending works because I was a commercial services officer on the back end, like a credit analyst, helping the clients, doing annual reviews, kind of all that stuff. So I really got a good feel of how lending would be. And that was my kind of point where I was like, what, I can do that. And I wanted to switch over to lending.
Nice. So you had a little bit of a mentorship or kind of an ease into that commercial component because it does start to get quite more complex than just your standard residential lending.
Correct.
And personal loans, right?
Right.
Speaking about kind of easing into jobs or roles, did you have some mentorship when you were at the bank? And what's your idea? Where do you value mentorship when you start getting into, let's call it some higher level lending scenarios like commercial lending?
Sure. So I had like great relationship managers who I worked with, who I supported them in the back end, and they were great mentors. Anytime I wanted to kind of learn something, they would not say no to me. They'd be like, why don't you sit down with us? I will explain to you what the process is. I knew exactly what to look at on the balance sheet, financial statements, and all that stuff. But in terms of lending itself, it was a little different for me because I came from retail side, just about 9 months in Canada, and everything was brand new. But I think having those mentors, which were my relationship managers who I supported, they were really, they played a very important part in my, just getting me comfortable in that lending role.
Yeah.
I think that's super important.
And mentorships are really, Sunny and I, we understand the value in that. Sometimes it could be a really lonely place getting into a new role, and especially with, I would say, the consequences of the deals that come into play. There's real consequences to not getting deals done on time or not really knowing your craft. So it's that mentorship piece is huge. Ange, can you tell me a little bit about kind of your mentorship or what your experience was transitioning or growing that knowledge base?
Sure. So yeah, I agree with you that mentorship is definitely a key component to anyone, whether it's on a personal level or on a professional level, because it kind of keeps you moving ahead. You have someone to kind of look up to in a way, and that you can call on them for any advice, and it'll just kind of help you keep on track with like your own goals in life. I would say with the on the professional side, like within the banks, also dependent on other relationship managers that maybe have their niche markets. So when an opportunity came up that I wasn't too familiar with, I was comfortable enough to go to them. I was able to be vulnerable and essentially just say, hey, I need some hand holding on this, where they were able to help me, walk me through. So then on the next opportunity, I was able to kind of go head first and kind of keep getting better and better at it. And that's on both levels. So you have to be open to receiving the mentoring. And then at the same time, you should build your own confidence, then help others along the way. So yeah, no, I had a lot of that in my career so far, and
it's invaluable.
Yeah, and I have it with these two, and you. So it's a continued progress, never ending.
Angela touched on something before the mentorship piece about the banks being a black and white space and wanting to be a little bit more creative. And not to say that we operate in any gray area, but I feel whether it's the residential brokers or it's our VPs commercial, I feel we all have a shared passion for problem solving. And I remember when Leo and I started Legacy Mortgage Group, he would always tell me, he said, when I was a little kid, my mom would have these necklaces and they would get knotted and she'd give them to me. And I would just spend hours undoing these knots. And I think we can all empathize that we've been there on a commercial credit file, but that's kind of the part that excites you as well. And if you get great mentorship along the way, it really allows you to hone on your skills. So you understand that, the banks have these parameters. This is the box that they're willing to lend in, but ultimately you're representing the client and you're trying to facilitate their credit needs. And I've found over time that in that process, there's the marriage of high quality mentorship, good backend infrastructure, proper resources, and just that shared passion for problem solving that makes you an expert in your role and allowing you to deliver on a high quality client experience. So I just wanted to touch on that point because immediately it made me think of that necklace.
The undying knots.
That's right.
You know why she did that, right? It was because I was a hyperactive kid and it was the only way she would get me to sit down. And so I think she would knot them every night.
Yeah.
She would knot them up every night. These fine little chains. And she'd be like, oh, here, can you undo this? I'm like, yay. Like,
it's better than counting sheep, I guess, right? So yeah.
Now, relationship management, both Aaron, you and Angela had mentioned, Ramit, that moniker is relationship manager. You start getting to that commercial title in those commercial roles, I noticed that it starts becoming relationship manager, relationship manager. Can you describe to me, Ramit, what relationship management means to you in the commercial space?
That's an excellent question, Leo. According to me, the definition of relationship manager is somebody who's doing their job, but also kind of looking at the client at the same time. Yes, when we were bankers, we were working for the bank, but at the end of the day, we were client focused. I think this is kind of embedded in all of us that we want to make sure that we need to solve a problem that like a client is coming with, regardless if there's a direct or an indirect solution. Sometimes we have to like peel the layers of the question that the client comes with and then find out what could be the possible solutions. And again, going back to the mentorship thing, it's always better to have a boss or a manager where you can just go and kind of ask your question and be like, hey, this is the area where I'm not too sure where I'm leading, so is there any way you can help me out? So having that relationship with your client where the client trusts you and you've got their trust because you've helped them in the past, or maybe you have a proven track record where you can help the client moving forward as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you bring that up, Leo, because when I take a look at relationship management, and I want to piggyback on your answer here, Ramit. Um, it's a little bit different in the residential broker space, and we've got oversight on both versus the commercial broker space. In the residential space, I find it's very cause and effect, where you've got a client, they approach you, they're looking for a mortgage. More often than not, they're going into a 3+ year fixed year mortgage. So you're not really touching
Hmm.
that client or touching that transaction again for 2 to 3 years. On the commercial In the commercial broker space, when clients approach our commercial team, they're coming with a credit need most of the time, especially if it's a new client, and they're saying, hey, I'm looking to buy this retail building, or I'm looking to construct this multifamily asset, and they need 3, 5, $10 million, and they're really just hyper focused on that one credit need. And I find that what our team does an excellent job of doing is exactly that relationship piece, but unraveling the business. And so, in a really weird way, we are meeting the credit need, but we're also building the relationship through consulting.
Hmm.
So we're saying, okay, in the discovery, we're going to need document A through to document Z. Once we have those documents, we can start analyzing that business and getting viscerally associated with that
It's
client.
because the discovery period of having to disclose information to the lenders, you have
Absolutely.
that ability to start to understand maybe some unseen needs that the customer even themselves don't see.
Sometimes they don't know where they're going, right?
Mhm.
So they've got a business and they're right over here, but we're doing, something as small as a daycare purchase up to the construction of a 500 unit multifamily asset. I think our loan sizes now range from anywhere from 500,000 all the way up to 120 million.
Mhm.
And so oftentimes when that clients come, we know that other client who is here, one step past this client or one step past that. And so we know the path that they need to take with their accountant, with their lawyer, with their brokers, and with their business.
Mhm.
And so we definitely are able to satisfy that credit need more often than not. But as we do that, peeling the onion, understanding the business, that full discovery process, that's when we start to build a relationship where the client comes in and we say, yep, here's 2 term sheets for your $5 million you need for this. But let me tell you how we can help you grow your business.
Mhm.
And so I remember, recruiting Aaron and Angela and Ramit, and a conversation that I had with all of them is the goal is not to have a high quantity of clients, but it's to have high quality clients where we are working with these individuals. I would not even say a year. I would say some of our higher net worth clients, we're getting calls from them weekly, monthly in an active market,
Yeah,
and we're bringing diversified opportunities to the table for them,
for sure.
right?
and in saying that, you're adding to that client experience. And there's a term that I often hear in the commercial banking world, which is the white glove service,
Mhm.
right? So Aaron, can you speak to a little bit about what you would define, or how you anticipate, or you understand to be white glove service when it comes to a commercial customer? Because oftentimes, as the volume amounts or the needs are greater, you're traditionally dealing with maybe more sophisticated individuals. They have a better understanding of the financial world. They maybe be very in tune with their accounting and their finances, how their business operates. And these are some big volume deals that they're speaking about. These are big deals, right? What are they expecting from you as a commercial broker, and how are you looking to deliver that white glove service?
For sure. Oh, that's a good question there. White glove service, I know it comes with a lot of responsibility as a broker there. First, as Sandeep said, like you got to present them options. You like I cannot present my client like just one option. They could have done it themselves as well.
Mm-hmm.
right? It's literally just shopping the best deal for them
Mm-hmm.
and saving them time.
Mm-hmm.
Because our clients, they're sophisticated investors. They don't have a lot of time to go to each bank to shop around the deals for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So the value we add, the difference we make is, here's what this bank is offering compared to this bank, and help them kind of even make that decision
Mm-hmm.
to choose like what's the better option. Yes, the fees could be less, interest rate is higher, maybe pay a little bit higher fees, but an interest rate long term, do the calculations for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we add value.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what white glove service would be for me,
Mhm.
is to help them make decisions and bring those options to them,
Yeah.
and saving them that time and the hassle of going to the individual banks.
And you bring up a point that individuals don't have time to be going from bank to bank to bank, especially individuals, business owners, you have multiple businesses, very busy people, right? From the perspective of when you guys, because we're all former bankers here, you guys are all former commercial bankers, what could you offer your customer and in the banking world versus what can you offer them in the broker channel now? I mean, where's that? What do you call it? The delta, Sandeep? Or
Yeah.
yeah. All right, he likes that term. So,
We try to always close the gap.
yeah.
So,
So where's that delta that you've seen now that you've made that transition from banker to broker?
Mhm.
And what's the experience for the customer now that you're seeing?
Right. I think in the bank, when you work for a particular bank, you can only provide options what that bank offers,
Mhm.
and that every bank have their own policies and procedures that they follow. And a lot of banks, they don't want to think outside the box there.
Mhm.
Every bank has their own policies. They want to stay in that box. And even if you want, you cannot represent like, okay, you know what, this bank, my bank is not offering. Why don't you go to this bank? You cannot do that when
Mhm.
you work in a bank. And that's the need I felt with my clients. And when I was a market director at a credit union here, was we cannot present those offers. It's not a deal which is a bad deal. It's just not the bank's appetite at that time. It's not there,
Mhm.
and that would change. And now, as a broker, compared to a banker, there is, we can provide them different options, different banks. You can shop around the deal, and I don't think so we've ever lost a deal for not having an option. We
Mhm.
always find a solution for the client, and I think that's the most important part when you're helping those commercial clients, that finding the right solution for them. Even if one bank doesn't offer, other bank would do it, or the appetite changes so quick in this industry, depending on where the buckets are for the individual banks.
And that's a big piece, right? Because where the appetite was maybe 2 years ago for this industry or for this customer
Yeah.
has all of a sudden maybe changed because of some mandates up top, right?
Yeah.
And banks are banks, right? They're
Correct.
corporations, so they get mandates from they travel top down. And so for me, that's always been, how are you? I understand the concept of white glove service and relationship management. That's why I was asking those questions, right? But when you can't service that customer's needs anymore, what happens to that relationship? Right? There's a big challenge there, and think sometimes that's a big limitation because we all know that appetites change and lending policies change for banks. Angela, can you tell me about an example, or can you talk to me about when that does happen? And I'll tell you why, is because me and Angela have been working on a couple of deals. I'm a resi guy. Okay, so but I sent her my commercial leads, and immediately she'll say, and she'll know that we're not going to go to bank A or bank B. We're going to go to bank C, X, and G. Right? I know that they have an appetite for this deal. And can you tell me how that's impacted your ability to provide service to customers? And also, what about sharpening your knowledge in the commercial world? Right?
Sure. Um, so I think for myself, again, like coming from two different, one credit union, one bank, again, all I knew was essentially the policies at those two companies. Now going on the other side of it as a broker, the first few months I had to invest in meeting different relationship managers, um, different specialists in different areas of the bank, to then kind of know which bank has the best appetite for what deal. So then now when essentially an opportunity is brought, I already know kind of which banks to look at, which banks we shouldn't even call. And again, just because of their appetite at that time. Um, Going back to your question,
Yeah.
what were you asking?
So just sorry. So dealing with that ability to find new options for your customers, and how does that
discerning kind of
Yeah.
between bank A versus bank
Yeah,
B.
and how does that affect the relationship now? I mean, and to be able to to getting back to that relationship manager title.
So I would say again, the onus is on us to continue having relationships also with relationship managers at different banks, to then kind of know where to send the deal to. And then from that, you go back to the client that you're working with. And you can also, with speed, and expertise, you can also advise that, okay, we're not going to go to this bank, we're not going to touch this bank, but we can go to this company. And then at the same time, you're adding, they see that the client sees that you're kind of advocating for them. You're not here to really waste time. And then
Mhm.
again, that relationship piece is there where you're adding value when you're in discussion with them, and you're not there to like waste anybody's time.
Yeah. So efficiencies, finding
Yeah.
solutions,
Mhm.
and meeting expectations.
Y-
Yes.
Now, when it comes to sorry,
It's okay. Go
yeah.
ahead.
When it comes to expectations, oftentimes we'll sometimes meet customers that have unrealistic
Mhm.
expectations, right? Now, Rami, can you tell me a little bit? Can you speak a bit about um, how being in the broker channel now, you do have more options, but how do you speak to customers, or how do you present the options that you have to meet sometimes what are unrealistic expectations for customers? How do you work that conversation with a customer about what you can offer, versus what maybe is the impossible?
That's a good question, Leo. And I think you have kind of just merged two questions at the same time here. So, my answer to your first part is how we can help the client being their relationship manager is by being resourceful. I think this is something I learned from Sandeep as soon as I joined the broker channel, that yes, I worked at two banks, but there are not only two banks out there to lend the money. It's very important for a commercial broker to be as much resourceful as possible, because the more options you know about your clients, they may not know and they will never know. And that's why they hire us to work for them. That's why they don't go to the bank. And that is exactly why, coming back to your point, we offer that white glove service, because A, we know the client inside out because we have done the discovery at that time. Because we are resourceful of the appetite of all the banks, we know exactly where to shop the deal. And I think I'm just kind of flow to your expectation part as well, that because we are resourceful, we know exactly where to take the deal. We have done the due diligence. We are more than happy to meet the client's expectation. Sometimes, when yes, there are some situations where a client comes to us that they need an answer yesterday.
Hmm.
In that situation, what I always do is set the bar or set the expectation straight, that A, if I have the full set of documents, yes, I can start working on it the next hour. But if I still have to chase you, if I still have to follow up a bunch of times, that can delay me. And again, going back to the relationship side, how well I know the client, A, how well I know their accountants, how well I know their lawyers, how well I know their banker. Because if I'm connected to all of them, it's much more easier for me to get that information that the client is looking to provide me in the first place.
You know, Leo, I think there's been a paradigm shift, um, specifically when it comes to relationship management, because pre-pandemic, you had high net worth clients that were running either development business or operating businesses, and they would go to John Smith at Bank X, and they always went to John Smith at Bank X, and John Smith was likely you, or you, right? And they'd say, hey, we need. Aaron, we need this credit facility, or we need support with this in our business. And it was always yes, yes, yes. And just based on that relationship piece alone, risk was willing to provide exceptions. So if
Hmm.
there was ever anything that was a little bit, on the fringe or on the cusp or just a little bit outside of the bank's box, you could get that sign off from risk. What happened during the pandemic was regulation started to tighten up with all of the lenders, right? And there was a little bit more exposure that they had to risk in general. And so, where you would get those exceptions based on a 20 or 30-year relationship with the bank, for the first time, these clients were starting to hear, no, you know what? We actually
Yeah.
cannot do this. And so the client was sitting there thinking, what do you mean, no? I've been a client here for 20 years, 25 years. And as they heard their first no, and their second no, and their third no, that shift was from a relationship to what we know really well in this industry is time and money, right? Where can I get this done fast?
Hmm.
And where can I get the most competitive terms and the most competitive interest rate? And so the pandemic was like a lightning in a bottle moment where all of a sudden, the banks hit their digital on switch, sorry, and origination started to flow over to the broker channel.
Yeah.
And what happened was that customer who was so used to going to John Smith is now over with a commercial broker who has a wide array of options. They intake that file, and they know that this may not be the best file for bank A or for bank B. And so they take it to bank C, and it's funded quickly and with competitive terms.
Mhm.
And so not only were they able to do things with, ease of time, efficiency of capital, but you actually were able to show the relationship piece as well. So they said, well, I had the relationship here. I've got a relationship here too now, and I can get things done quickly, and I
Mhm.
can shop competitive options and I can save money, I think I'm going to go back to the commercial VP at
Yeah.
Legacy Mortgage Group, and then they can shop options for me. And what's really interesting, and I've noticed this shift with everyone that's transitioned in as a commercial broker, is there's this time when you're decoupling your relationship with the bank, right? So you're saying this goodbye to a bank that you've got a 5 or 6 or 7 year relationship with, and you've heard enough no's to say, okay, I need more options for my clients.
Mhm.
And so you transition over into this new broker space. But now, when you've got that really, really high quality file that fits within your last bank's lending policy, you shoot that file over and they're super happy because it fits right inside their box. And so you actually are able to deepen that relationship with that bank that you just departed from. And
Yeah.
so, coming back to the relationship piece, I think with mortgage origination just growing in the broker channel and that paradigm shift kind of post pandemic, clients now are coming to us and we're funding deals. We're deepening the relationship with the client, but we're also deepening the relationship
And I
with the
think
bank.
leveraging technology now too, right? People are more open to exploring options online. People are more open to going paperless. It's gone to the days of, oh, my bank holds my accounts and they should be doing this for me, right? People are very open to exploring those options.
Mhm.
It really comes down to the relationship management. And that's a great segue because now I want to kind of start digging a little bit into the banker to broker transition,
Mhm.
right? So we've all sat in that chair. We've all worked for a large institution. And don't get me wrong, there's fantastic, benefits to working with an institution, lots of training, lots of development, lots of exposure. But I want to ask you guys individually, and I'll start with you, Aaron.
Sure.
When you were on the banking side, what was your perception of the broker channel or of the
Mhm.
broker side in terms of commercial brokering?
I think perception was, it's just easy money.
Mm.
Honestly, it's like, they send us a deal. We look at the package. I'm talking about as a banker.
Mhm.
Look at a package. We're like, okay, they're getting this, nice commission there. Like I'm doing all the work. I'm taking all the risk.
Mhm.
But that was the perception on the other side.
Mhm.
And when you come to the broker side, it's like it's not that easy. You got to really win that deal in the market.
Yeah.
And the customers, a lot of chances are they've already shopped around that deal themselves. They've already tried it. They're tired now. They couldn't win this deal themselves. That's why they're here.
Mhm.
So, and you have to also compete with other brokers, other banks directly
Mhm.
to actually win this deal. So it's not that easy what it look like to me, myself personally.
Yeah.
That you got to really hustle and win that deal in the market.
Mhm.
A lot of times you're working on something, for a client and they give you the deposit. And next thing you know that they've gone somewhere else.
So you were thinking that, oh man, I'm taking all the work, I'm
Mhm.
packaging this deal, I'm working with risk or whatnot, and this guy's just sitting on his laurels waiting
Yeah.
for his, letter of
Yeah.
approval, his LOI, let's call it, right?
Right.
Okay. And what was your experience when you were on the bank side looking over at the broker channel? Was it kind of similar to Aaron's or?
Um, I would say I was excited. Like I was kind of done with working at the Big Five. Not to say that there was nothing wrong with it, but I just kind of wanted more for myself. And I was speaking with someone who ended up going from a bank into the broker channel into the space, also doing commercial like working on the commercial side.
Mhm.
And I just looked at him and I saw like the growth that he himself gained from switching over. And I was thinking, it's again, maybe back to the mentorship. I was thinking, okay, it's my turn to do that. Like,
Mm.
I think that it's my turn
That could be
to.
me.
Yeah, I literally said this could be me.
Yeah.
And essentially, I was I was very excited. You have a mix of emotions because
Mhm.
there's two sides to it because when you are working for a financial institution, you kind of have like a backbone in the sense that if anything goes wrong, like you're still kind of getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. Coming onto this side of it, you're solely on commission, you're self-employed. If you're not hustling, no one's gonna basically do it for you.
Mhm.
So that was the one thing that I was a little bit nervous for. But then
Yeah.
once you're in the space, you get started on it, you just kind of keep the momentum going.
It's a big move,
Yeah.
right?
It is.
It's a big change, so it's a big consideration. Ramit, what was your, I love this question because this is the essence of this podcast is really banker to broker,
Mhm.
right? And I want to get into the mind of where you were prior to making the move, and we'll start getting into discussions about what you guys have discovered over here on this side and kind of compare the two. But what was your perception, or kind of what was your experience of starting to look over, let's call it over the fence, so to speak, into the private
Well, my
side?
perception when I was a banker, I used to get a whole bunch of deals from the brokers, and I had two things in my mind. First, why are these guys always on vacation and still making a lot of money? I'm like, why can't I take more than 2 weeks altogether? And
Those are
still
very
go-
established people, by the way. Those are very established people.
Like
So-
you're not working on the weekend.
and and the second thing is, how come these guys know more about the banking than I know? But now,
Mm.
because I've made that shift on the other side, again, going back to the being resourceful, like because these guys have worked with a whole bunch of lenders, that's why they know exactly what the other bank is going to provide when it comes to the term sheet or the letter of interest or the commitment letter. And actually, that was something that excited me the most. That hey, I want to make that switch over. I want to see what's outside of the traditional banking that I've been doing, because I had that mindset that okay, you know what, I have been in banking for almost 8-9 years. I've grown a lot on professional side as well. Maybe there's this time that the next move is just in the management.
Yeah.
And then I decided to explore the brokerage channel, and I met a couple of people, and then I got to know, well, there's a lot more to commercial underwriting than I am aware of at that time.
Mhm.
That's why that was something that kind of excited me the most. I'm like, okay, you know what? I like to talk to people. I like to have long-term relationship with my clients. So why am I only just offering one bank solution? Why not exploring multiple lenders at the same time?
Great. And I want to continue on that. What were your apprehensions before you left? Like, and I'm just asking you to be
Vulnerable.
vulnerable here. Sorry, I think I'm brain fart, guys. What were your apprehensions? What doubt was in your mind before making the leap, or was there any doubt, or were you just like, I'm done,
Well,
I'm jumping?
no,
over?
definitely some doubt. It was a big career shift for me. Like I was the only one earning in my family at that time, and again, like 8 years in banking, I was just so used to, as Angela said, every 2 weeks of paycheck. So it was a big financial decision and emotional decision, because again, you just get way too used to the daily routine, like getting up early in the morning, going to the office at 8 o'clock, leaving around 3:30, 4 or 5 o'clock, no work on the weekends. But when I explored what's on the other side, I like to challenge myself and see, hey, if those other gentlemen can do it, why can't I?
Mm-hmm.
So
And Angela, what apprehensions did you have? Or it seems like you were ready to just make the leap. You're like, no apprehensions at all,
you
right?
know what? Before you even go to Angela, I got to touch base on Ramit. This is an interesting story. So when Ramit had reviewed his contract, we had all of our conversations. I sent him the contract, and he wanted to have a meeting. So he comes in, we have a meeting, we review the contract, and I could tell that he was nervous. And then he goes back, schedules a secondary meeting with me, comes back, meets with me the second time. Then he does it again the third time. So the third time he came in, I had printed the contract out. And as he sat down in the chair, I just started to sign the contract. And then I turned it around. I said, here's a pen. I need you to sign.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I'll cover your salary. Worst case scenario. We will cover your salary. Worst case scenario.
It's like
we
that
just
guy,
got to get your feet
the
wet.
guy that keeps on walking to the cliff and then
That's-
turns back.
that's
He
right.
doesn't want to jump off that big, deep
I
cliff.
said, don't
dive,
take
right?
the risk. We will take it for you. This is shared responsibility.
That's all you need
yeah.
sometimes, really.
Yeah.
Just a little
Yeah.
bit push.
And Angela, so getting back to that, did you have any apprehensions, or were you like, man, I'm ready to rock? You know?
I mean, it was a bit of both. I was ready, but I think I actually I met with Sandeep at Joey's, and then we just, it was very casual. We talked, and then I came back home, and then I was thinking, I'm like, okay, so when are we gonna like talk again? And then I messaged Sandeep, and he's like, and like we already know we're gonna like have you like join Legacy Mortgage Group, and it was like such a breath of fresh
Fresh air.
fresh air.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like I was truly ready. I mean, it was a lot of mixed emotions,
Mhm.
but I felt that I was ready. And then also back to what Aaron and Ramit were saying, it's also just you're growing personally with this career shift, because at the same time you're really diving into different challenges. You're presented and you're looking at different appetites from all the other banks and things like that. So you're really growing professionally. You're gaining a lot of knowledge. So I think I was just kind of ready for that next step.
Would you almost say that it's kind of you're now banking with all the banks to a certain degree? Now you're getting exposed to, in an indirect way, all their policies. Like,
Correct.
I mean,
Yeah, I would say all of the big five for sure credit unions, but even on top of that, a lot of mixed and private lenders, which again, I never had exposure to. So it was actually Sandeep who helped me explore and open my eyes to that avenue as well. So you're like, my eyes opened completely. Like, I feel like it was a complete 180. So Yeah.
One of the things that we chat about during our onboarding process, which is very structured, is as a company, we're structured like a bank with the freedom of a brokerage.
mhm.
And so as you go through that transition, in Alberta at least, there's 2 exams that you've got to clear with the Real Estate Council. So you've got part 1 and part 2. And usually we start our onboarding as soon as part 1 is completed. And then once you're fully licensed, that's when we hire you to the brokerage. And so the entire process takes 3 weeks. But as you go through that transition of our onboarding, the feedback that I've gotten from brokers that we've brought on is I didn't have this onboarding experience at a bank. I've made more relationships in the last 3 weeks with Legacy's leadership team, with our partners in the market, whether it's corporate accountants or corporate lawyers. And I feel ready to do my job well. And Aaron, I wanted to touch on your point a little bit with
Sure.
respect to some of the challenges, right? Where you have that client who may have exhausted some lenders or may have exhausted, potentially being to another broker and they come over. I find sometimes the differences in the banker versus the broker space is in the bank, you could be earning X.
Mhm.
And so let's say you do your business planning and you dial up your performance and you dial up your networking and you start getting really focused on your business. The return may be 10 to 20% for 100% output.
Mhm.
In the broker space, if you put 100% output, you get 100% return,
Mhm.
right? So not necessarily the more that you work, but the more you make those micro adjustments within your
True.
business, you can really start to solidify that moving forward and start to see it grow exponentially, which
True.
we've seen many times over in the company.
Mhm. What personality traits do you think make a successful commercial broker? Right? I mean, I know that you can start working at the bank and there'll be natural business coming and walking in the door. You are still expected to create your own relationships, but let's face it, when you go into the broker space, it truly is a hunter gatherer role. You truly are running and managing your own business now, right? You lose that direct brand of, a big five bank or or the credit union, let's call it. And now you are your own brand,
Mhm.
right? So, what would you say is, if you were giving advice to someone that's considering making the move over, or you were considering yourself saying, is this individual kind of the right fit to move over? What personality traits do you say would attribute to someone who'd be successful as a commercial broker?
I would say you got to be genuinely willing to help, not just for that one transaction, to
Hmm.
manage that relationship like for long term.
Hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of, I would say, bankers or a lot of individuals kind of, and I would say I'm new to the brokerage space as well. Like that's where you kind of lack a lot of times,
Hmm.
is that, am I genuinely willing to help, or am I just very focused on this one transaction,
Hmm.
or am I looking for the whole relationship and long term? And I think the banking experience for myself, I can speak, has really helped me to do that. You really wrap your arms around the client,
Hmm.
not just looking at their one transaction, looking at everything. And I think that's what, and I've talked to a lot of potential people who want to switch from bankers to brokers. And I just met somebody yesterday and they were just asking me at lunch, like, is it still good? Do you
Hmm.
still love it? I was like, every day.
What were they
Right.
picking your brain about? Like,
Right.
what were their
And
fears? What were their fears?
their fear is first, of course, leaving your day-to-day, everyday paycheck, right?
Hmm.
They're leaving that fixed salary and stability in their life. And, everybody has a young family, who I met yesterday, like they have a young family as well. They're a brand new kid.
Hmm.
And that scare of, am I going to make it or not make it?
Hmm.
And I had that too, right? And
Hmm.
you got to be really, you're mentally strong yourself to actually make that decision.
Hmm.
When me and Sandeep met first time, I knew I was going to do it, but then still the scare was there. And I shared that with Sandeep. I was like, you know what? That is my only concern. Am I going to make it or not?
Hmm.
And he gave me that comfort. Like, you know what? We'll start, make a decision, make up your mind, and then maybe you will one of the strong deals.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give it to you, right? And that was my comfort level.
Hmm.
Like, let me just do it. Of course, I had to, really took like 3 months to close it, but then I knew it was going to be a solid deal, right? And
Well, isn't that the
that's
nature of commercial deals, anyways? They take like 3 or 6 months sometimes to close it, right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
getting back to that unrealistic expectations, right? Like, could you get this done in a month? Or like,
Yeah.
you do realize this is a commercial application.
Exactly.
It depends. That's
Depends.
right. Yeah.
So that was the thing, right? And that's something I usually, when somebody asks me, I tell them the same thing, and I tell everybody very honestly and genuinely, like, it takes time.
Hmm.
Still taking time for myself, to actually make my pipeline, make those solid connections, just to get that referral business back, right?
Well, let's face it. You're starting a business,
Mhm.
right? You're starting a brand. You're starting a business. Like anyone who starts a business, it doesn't just hit. You don't just find success right away. You
Right.
got to have a game plan. You got to have a business strategy, a business plan. You got to start putting your boots on every day. You got to start networking, prospecting. You got to get your systems in place, right?
Right.
So, Ange, when you made the transition over, how important is support from the brokerage that you're moving over to? Like, how instrumental is that in eliminating or alleviating those fears, right? Of can I make it or not, and getting your business up and running. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Sure. So when I was first exploring Legacy Mortgage Group, and again, I was watching you guys from day one when you guys opened up the brokerage, I saw that it was a very tight knit team. The culture was there, the support was there. I already kind of saw that from not being fully invested in Legacy Mortgage Group yet.
Mhm.
And then coming on again, speaking with Sandeep and his experience, even though you actually mentioned yourself that you never really did commercial
No.
yourself, but he has just so much knowledge in the space,
He's being modest.
so
He does
much
commercially. Just
many connections in the space. And I felt just from one conversation with Sandeep that I would essentially get that support from him. Um, and then as well, I see on the residential side how much of the team essentially comes to you for support as well. And even I've started to tap into getting support from you. So I mean, I feel like it's a very open door environment where I can essentially lean on support. And then again, from the other VP commercials here, I feel if I just message Aaron, if I call Ramit, Jasjeet, and Italo, like the support is there, and it's not. I don't need to think twice about it, and it has actually helped me accelerate and grow my book of business.
And you know what? Credit to our old. So Sandeep and I actually used to work on. We came from the residential lending side, and we were both on the same team. Credit to the team that we had there actually,
No
and
doubt.
our sales manager at that time. She really pushed supporting each other, helping each other out, and the team was really good with that. And when we opened up Legacy Mortgage Group, that was something that we definitely wanted to bring, that culture of support, the technology to be able to support each other. So you know, whether it be through Teams, whether it be through our resources, whether it be through our systems, because it's critical, right? When you make that move over to broker side, it can feel really lonely if you don't have that network and that tribe to help you succeed. Because at the end of the day, we're hunter gatherers, right? And so you need to get out there, you need to hunt, but you also need to know that you have to have that support from your community. To be able to say, where did I go wrong on this? Where do I go? You know, I'm lost. I'm not lost, but I'm unsure of to go left or right, right? So it's an important piece for us. Ange, thanks for sharing that with us.
Leo, I think as a company, we've been quite nimble to change.
Mhm.
And one of the things and Angela, you touched on this, is the culture was there, the morale was there. I find with sometimes other brokerages or other companies, you know, they're looking for a culture fit.
Mhm.
These are our core values. This is who we are. This is our back end systems and resources. And we're looking for you to be a culture fit within that organization.
Mhm.
I find the one thing that we do a little bit differently is our innovation actually comes, you know, from the ground floor up. Sometimes it's our administrative staff, our director of operations,
Mhm.
our VPs commercial that have these brilliant ideas. So we're not looking for culture fits. We're actually looking for culture adds,
Mhm.
right? I remember Aaron joined and it was probably 2 months in, and he says, you know, I've got this opportunity in Toronto. Would you be interested in going? And I said, let me think about it. He comes in the next day. He's like, hey, I made some calls. We set up some meetings. We should probably fly out to Toronto. And I said, no problem, let's go. And so we flew out to Toronto, spent 3 days there. Then he calls me, you know, a day before the trip. He says, hey, we're going to hang out with my father-in-law and spend a day in Hamilton at his house. And so, you know, there's these stories that sometimes are unseen
For sure.
by the outside, where funding deals or VP's commercial, but in the same breath, you know, we were in Hamilton, had a great time at his father-in-law's house,
Mhm.
had drinks, slept in the basement, but the next day had some very high performing meetings in downtown Toronto, in Mississauga. We're at the head office with the president of Mortgage Center Canada, and you know, no one understands just how all of that comes together. But
Mhm.
that entire trip, the relationships that we forged, again, it comes down to that culture add.
Yeah.
So when our brokers come to us and they say, "Hey, we've got an idea," we don't say no because,
Mhm.
no because, no because. We always say yes and.
For sure.
Yes and.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's go to Toronto, but what then? Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a testament to just not just Leo and myself, but the team that we
I love innovation, right? I love hearing ideas from people. I love saying, "Can we do it better?" You know, I love hearing that maybe you know there's a better way,
Yeah.
right? And I love that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the culture we all thrive on.
Right.
That's, you know, everybody, you know, just coming to work every day. You see that every day at
Yeah.
the workplace.
Right.
You know, in the brokerage, you don't have to show up in the office every day. It's
Correct.
just a fact, like we're running out of space in the office. It's a good
Yeah.
problem to have.
Right.
That
Yes.
people want to come to work.
Soon to be solved.
Yeah.
Soon to be solved. Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting when this came up, Aaron. Actually, when we have a leadership meeting every Thursday morning, and so anyone who's in the office 10 to 11:30, they'll see all the leaders in the brokerage kind of dialed in for an hour and a half. And so there were times when there would be 5 people in the office, and there was time when we were at capacity and bursting at the seams, and people didn't have offices,
Mhm.
and it's a pretty sizable office. And so our director of ops said, "Hey, we should start measuring office efficiency, so we don't have a scenario where, you know, we have a ton of people in the office versus no people in the office. And so we started to track efficiency. We went platform agnostic in all of our offices. So you can go in, plug and play from any of the spaces that we have. And we started going from 40% efficiency to 50 to 60 to 70. And now it's like week after week, we're at 100%. So the office is now booked out for the next 3-4 months. And that it's a good problem to have, right? Because there's no requirement for brokers to be in the office.
Exactly.
They want to be there,
Yeah.
right? And so that's
Yeah.
who we are.
Yeah, and I love it. And like you said, it's a good problem to have. But I love that culture piece. I don't know if guys during COVID, what your experiences were when you were at the bank. There were a lot of challenges with people and work-life balance and kind of satisfaction in people's roles. We were fortunate enough to be a necessary industry. I think it was
Essential services.
essential services labeled as
Financing,
essential
yeah,
services. So
yeah.
we were able to keep our office open, obviously following.
We never got any discount at Lululemon, but yeah.
And I'm going to be honest with you. Thank the Lord that we were able to work out of the office, because we were able to kind of, for me, I always use the term, I like to separate church and state, right? I like to keep home kind of home and work at work. And it was great for the mental health. But I did notice that there was some corrosion in culture in the banking world. Because people were limited to the office space, or it was kind of a cold setting, and people were thriving to have that camaraderie and that relationship and that office space and back, right? So we're happy to service that, and we're continuing to work hard to get even more of that culture and growth. Ramit, is the commercial mortgage space or the commercial broker space underserviced in Canada? And what I mean by that is there room for growth, or is it saturated, or is this just the beginning?
That's a great question.
In my opinion, yes, it is underserviced. Just to say on top of my head, a lot of lenders, when I talk to them, they like to deal with either deals which are less than $1 million or deals which are over $10 million. So there's this huge gap between $1 to $10 million, those clients who are in the growth stage. Because obviously the clients who are less than $1 million lending requirement, they are at that level where they may not need that big set of advice. And obviously the clients who have more than $10 million of lending needs, they already have a whole bunch of people calling them and be like, hey, I want lunch or dinner or whatever. But I think the gap that I was able to see was between 1 and 10 million. There was this huge space where nobody wanted to help those clients because either it didn't fit their policy, or B, they just thought it's too early for the client to ask for that much of loan amount. And that is exactly where I think our brokerage excel, because we help those clients from day one, from the scratch, to kind of see where their future can take them. And obviously we want to be part of that journey as well. And that's going back to being the relationship manager. When you start working with the client when they're in the growth mode, obviously when they reach that saturation, they'll always be loyal to you because you were there for them from
That's
day
when they
one.
needed you the most.
Exactly.
That's when they need someone to advocate
Exactly.
for them and their business to be able to scale and grow. And oftentimes they'll run into the brick wall with even their institution, right? They'll just say, sorry, it doesn't fit our mold, right?
And I find that more than ever before, they're not just looking for the credit need anymore. The market is extremely volatile because of our friendly neighbors down south. But as a result, our clients are a little bit nervous. Sometimes they're on edge. They want more data points. They want proper consulting expertise. So they see us, yes, definitely as, a company that can service the credit need, but they're looking for advice and high quality advice, and more frequently than ever before, right? Yeah.
Anybody got any opinion on that? Where you guys see the mortgage, the commercial space growing? How do you see yourself growing in the commercial space? Where do you see it growing, Aaron?
I think there's a lot of opportunity out there. I just started just last year in August here. So I see a lot of potential in the market. I see a lot of clients willing to kind of transitioning from banker directly going to the bank to actually going to brokers to find the best solution for them. And I think that's where, when I see myself, it's like, okay, that's opportunity. People are out there looking for it, and I don't hesitate to ask for business anymore. Like in the bank is like, okay, I can only say so much as a banker. I can't bring any of the bank's name on there. And now as a broker, it's like, I have a solution for you. It doesn't matter which bank, and I will make sure I help you out. And I'm not restricted by any policies that, I can go to this bank or that bank. So I think this opportunity, you just have to ask for business. And I ask for business right up front to all my clients. I ask for referrals every time I fund a deal. Like, I need 2 referrals from you.
Yeah.
And I've been successful in that.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of opportunity. It's definitely not, definitely underserviced right now. But I think there are a lot of good potential candidates we are getting in the brokerage and in the space, which are good quality ex-bankers, and they're turning to commercial brokers now.
Yeah, we're seeing that. So would you all agree that you're kind of not limited into a type box anymore, but that you've kind of just been, you're out of the box and you could really now drive value for your customers. You can really shop and provide not just the initial need, but like Sandeep was,
alluding
alluding
yeah.
to. There you go. Sorry, guys, long day. And that now you really can give that full service to a
100%.
customer.
100%.
Yeah, Ange, you have what I love about Ange is that she says, "I'll take any size deal. I don't care.
That's right.
Relationships start somewhere, right?"
Mhm.
Can you describe to me what your approach is if someone has maybe a need just shy of maybe $1 million, right? How do you look at that client and how do you look at that customer experience?
Um, I think for those type of clients who are kind of just maybe just starting out business, starting their business, and they're kind of looking to take their first leap. Again, I look at it with excitement because that's how my passion started with going into commercial and small business banking, is because you want to be that first person to help them get them that first loan, walk them through everything from step one until step Z.
Mhm.
So the attitude is no difference from talking to that client versus talking to somebody who's a more established business owner. It's just a different type of relationship. You're there to kind of be their quarterback, essentially from step one, just kind of advising them on what to do next, asking all the questions, seeing how they can do it, talk about processes. Um, so really, like you said, I'll literally take any deal because the passion on helping entrepreneurs, whether it's a small ask, a medium ask, or a big ask, you're there to advocate for them the same way. Um, and just really help them get on their feet and just kind of keep growing. So would never say no.
I love it. I love it. That's her attitude all the time.
Yeah, great approach.
Always.
Yeah,
She's like, I'll always talk to anybody, right? Because everyone started somewhere,
that's right.
right? All right. Well, where do you see yourself, Ramit? I'm going to ask all you guys this question. This is kind of to bring it up to Q and Sunny. Let me know if you want to jump in here at any
Sure.
moment. Here.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
That's a great question. Obviously, being a VP commercial, that's
Mhm.
first. Second, I want to grow my relationship with more lenders, because obviously being well informed and being well resourceful is one of the key things that actually drives me every day for this position. And the other thing that I'm looking to kind of bring the change in my personal life as well, like mentor more people, like
Mm.
people who are at the verge of maybe deciding, hey, you know what, I'm too comfortable in the job that I'm doing, but you know what, I have passion to help people of complex credit needs. So I want to help those clients, especially I want to help those people to make those decisions and then help them, hey, how we all started from day one, and obviously kind of share our experience, share the challenges that we have gone through, and obviously help them grow in their career as well.
Aaron?
I think I would say for myself, I love working with Legacy Mortgage Group. I definitely explored a lot of options before, and the culture, the way we and Sandeep vibed together was like, I want to be here, and no regrets. I think ever.
Mm.
So my long term goal, I would say, in the next 10 years, I would want to be with the brokerage in the industry. Of course, I just want to find my niche and be the industry leader in that piece. Could be construction is what I love. Investment real estate is what I love.
Mhm.
So find my niche there and really excel in that piece. I want to be
That's
known for that.
That's excellent. Having kind of that vision, that area that you love.
And the commercial community is a bit smaller, so there's people in the community where you know that this is the guy who does this,
Yeah.
right? And it's good to
I've noticed that it's
aspire to that,
really
yeah.
different than residential, right? The community's smaller and
Right.
there's certain names tied to people who drive solutions in this area
Correct.
or in
Right.
this industry,
Right.
right? And yourself, 10 years?
Still being a VP commercial with Legacy Mortgage Group, hopefully and God willing.
Mm.
But at the same time, just also, like Aaron said, like growing my knowledge to, next degree, having a niche market, essentially knowing who to speak with on what deal, and just, having my, what's the word called? Having my presence in the community,
Mhm.
so that they know, okay, I'm gonna call Ange on this deal. And then on a personal level, I mean, at the same time, we work with such a great group with a lot of successful brokers, both on the residential and on the commercial side. So, and also the clients that I face. So it continues to encourage me to essentially take opportunities, maybe investing in something, seeing what other individuals are doing, to then, ask them about it. To then,
Leveraging that knowledge from some of
yes,
the customers
yes.
that you have and
I've had
saying,
that from day one when I heard a
yeah,
few stories of what you two do. I'm just not there yet, but always like in the back of my mind, I think there's more that I can do on the like on my personal on the personal side. It's just that I need to get to that point, but lots of ideas always brewing in my
That's the beauty
mind.
of being able to leverage your own paper is what I call it, right? The difference between the banks versus the broker space is you guys are all independent contractors, you have your own businesses. So as those businesses grow, you can leverage that paper that's also growing with you, the
Mhm.
financials,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I know when Leo and I started Legacy, there was a ton of sweat equity, but there was a lot of real equity that was going in as well. And till date,
lot.
but as the company's grown, the paper's grown with it, and now we can go back to
Mhm.
brokers and say, okay, we're looking at making this decision and reinvesting in the company, and we don't have to come in as heavy out of our pocket now.
Mhm.
And you have those opportunities to take on potentially other investments where maybe that was a bit, I guess, um, maybe you don't have as much when you're at the bank. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Totally. Totally.
I was expecting someone to say just sitting on the beach having someone else do all my work for me and making
Yeah,
buckets of
we can
cash.
get that
But
answer,
that's
yeah.
okay. In another world.
Yeah.
Last question to everybody. Obviously, this is a banker to broker segment, right? And again, we want to thank you guys for joining us. You've all sat in that chair. We've sat in that chair. If you were to sit down with someone and they were saying, Aaron, should I move over? Angela, is this the right decision? Ramit, I'm torn. What is your answer to them? Short, towards making that transition from banker to broker.
It's funny you said that. 2 days ago, I met one of my old friends who works at one of the banks here, and he's been asking me for a couple of years now. He's like, should I do it? Should I not do it? Now he had a baby, just 4 months old. And I asked him now, I was like, are you still thinking about it? He's like, yeah. And I was like, it's going to be even more harder now because you have a little bit extra responsibility as a family. And I've been telling you before you got married, right? So now he actually wants to do it. And I was like, there's no wrong time. You just got to take that first step. It's always a hard one. I've taken that myself. I have a young family, and you're going to be successful. I know you as a person. And he really, he just sent me a voice message right after he left. And he said that he was like, I'm going to do it now. I actually have the voice note now from him that he's going to do it. Because he felt that he wanted to, I think at that time he wanted to see how I do and how successful I am.
You jump first, you go in first.
Yeah, exactly how it was, right?
That's a great decision.
Yeah, good luck. He's like, you go first. Now we met at the exact same place we did a couple of years ago. And I was thinking about it at that time. And we met last year. He told me, and I took the license and I started it at that time. And we met again at the same place. And now he actually wants to proceed.
Full circle.
And I was like, you know what? Sometimes it does take a little bit of time to actually think about all these things.
Yeah.
And make a decision. But you always have to take that first step. It's always the challenging one.
Yeah.
And everything after that is smooth.
Yeah. And Angela, same question for you, but from the lens also too of you've got a growing family, right? Let's say there was someone who was like Aaron's friend's position who has a growing family and they're like, I don't know. What kind of advice would you give that individual from your experience right now? And be honest, right? I mean, there's sometimes maybe it's not the right time to make the move, right? What would you say from your experience? Whether they're willing to, my family's growing, should I make the move?
I would say the biggest thing is to look to that person is to say, look where you have support. So if you have the support, you have maybe someone else who can provide stability on one end of it, then that's when you know if it's like the right move for you. I'm thankful that I have that opportunity and I had that opportunity. But I would say, especially, we just welcomed a number two. And it's really, people are saying, are you going to take maternity leave? Are you going to take a leave? And it's really like, no, because you don't want to lose that momentum. Like you want to keep going, you want to keep grinding, you want to keep having a pipeline, because if you stop, like it's going to be hard to pick that back up. So circling back to the questions that you had for what I would say to someone, I would say that if they have the mentality of essentially not just working a 9 to 5 and they're open to putting in sweat on the weekends, in the evenings, picking up a phone call at 8 p.m. and you're not just like shutting it off for the client, you would have a better success rate than if you just like turn it off and you're on that 9 to 5 mode.
Growing your business.
Yes.
Always answering the
And
phone.
honestly, clients value that. Like when I sometimes get on the phone with them late in the evening, they're like, "Oh wow, I'm talking to you at 8 or 9 p.m." I've never had that with my banker, and it's just because we're always working. We're always working for you.
Yeah.
So I would say you need to come in with that type of
That's
mentality.
that entrepreneurial mentality, right? It's just to start your business, it'll get easier. And Rabbit, I'll end the question with you. Same, spirit of question. But what would you say to someone? What would you consider someone that is going to make a mistake coming into the broker channel? What traits would you say, if you're not willing to, or if you have these habits, I wouldn't recommend making a move into the commercial space?
That's a good question, Leo. And this is something that I actually focus on myself as well before I made this move. So first of all, I would say there's not a perfect time to make the move. First, you gotta believe in yourself that A, yes, I know what it takes to be an entrepreneur. B, as Angela said, talk to people around you. Maybe talk to the principal broker, talk to the leadership team of different brokerages, talk to some commercial brokers that you're already in touch with, and ask about their experience. Like, hey, what motivated you to make that decision? Now, coming back to you, like some traits that people should have, or they should look that if they have it or no. First is obviously consistency. If they can wake up early in the morning and show up at the work, maybe the last day was not the best day of the week, but still they have what it takes to wake up early in the morning next day, again show up at the work, open the laptop and start the grind. And the other thing is discipline. I think this is something I learned more in last 1 year than I did in 8 years when I was in banking. If you're not disciplined, if you're not managed in your daily routine, it not that you cannot grow, but you will not be able to grow as quickly as anybody else.
It'll be a rough road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You gotta have the efficiency to do the job. Like we all talked about, like who doesn't want to be in Mexico and still getting the job done? Well, that's what you call being efficient, because yes, when you're enjoying, you're really enjoying. But when you're working, you're focused and you want to get things done as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So
And it is possible to work remotely in this role. I think you'd be safe to say you have to really take some time to build that efficiency, that scale, that network, and that business. But it's true, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. Sonny, you wanna add in there? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
obviously, as a
I have
principal
these
broker, right?
these conversations when we're recruiting and speaking of commercial bankers who are looking to move into the broker space, and there's always hesitations, right? And I think the biggest one that I hear is just the stability. I've got a kid, I've got expenses, and I've got this, and I've got
And those
that.
are all legitimate, right?
Absolutely. And so I think, you always have to hone in on not everyone's the right fit. We don't hire everyone that applies or comes through the door. In fact, we vet now more than ever before just to preserve the strong culture that we've built. But when I do see that one individual who I know has the ability to succeed as a broker, I'm very loud and I'm very direct about it, right? And I'll say your biggest limitation is the face in the mirror. It's you. It's all right over here in your mind. That is what's limiting you. And I agree with Rumit. As soon as you start the job, it's extremely important to be consistent and to be disciplined. I always tell individuals coming into Legacy, I say, I see this patterned behavior between the individuals that do really well versus the individuals who do well and then plateau, and then the growth kind of stops. And the big difference is, the first 6 months, understanding the business, being a sponge, you're now investing in yourself. You've made the decision, you've taken the risk, but what are you doing from a discipline standpoint to make sure that you can continue to grow your business? So come into the office every day, attend the sales meetings, speak with your colleagues, engage with your partnerships or your partners, right? And that's what's going to grow your business. So
Rhythm,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Daily rhythm, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, guys, listen, that's time for us. We truly appreciate you guys coming here and having a chat with us.
thank you.
We know you guys are all very busy, and it's Friday too, to boot. So I just can't thank you enough. And pleasure watching you all succeed and grow. And anything you need from us, we'd be glad to give back. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you for
guys.
the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.